This video is on how to sew a pillow. You can see here's two examples of pillows. These are hanging on my wall. Okay, this one was turned inside out and sewn. This one, the stitching was done along the edges. You can see these white stitches. Okay, you could do it either way. This one you can see the stitching on though, so you want to make sure you keep it neat. With this one, it might look like the pillows at home. It was turned inside out and then stuffed. I'm going to show the inside out way to do your pillow. Okay, if you want it not inside out, then just put your squares on top the way you want to see them for your pillow. Okay, I do want mine inside out, so I'm going to flip mine over so I can see the back of my stitching. Okay, then I'm going to take a couple binder clips and I'm going to pull up the edges. They look like this. I'm going to pull up on those edges and I'm just going to line them up. These clips are really just to help it stay in place. If you find they're getting in your way when you sew, you can take them off. You don't want to sew into them. You don't want to sew them into part of your piece. You can lay the clips flat if they're in your way. I think that's a little easier to work with. You might just need one or two just to kind of hold it in place while you're starting. Okay, the most important thing when you're sewing in fabric, okay, is you don't want to sew right along the edge, especially in burlap, but really any fabric. I'm going to move my stitches in a lot. Okay, if I put my stitches right here along this kind of frayed edge, my stitching is going to fall out. So I'm actually going to move my stitches in quite a lot. I'm going to move them in about an inch. And I already have a long knotted piece of yarn. I'm going to pull that until it's even. There we go. And I'm just going to do a running stitch. Because this is a demo, I'm going to keep my stitches kind of big so you can see the whole process of making a pillow. But you can really make your stitches really tiny. That's going to be a much more sturdy pillow. Whoops. It's already getting a little knotted as I'm sewing. There we go. So it's just that pattern. Up, pull. There we go. Down, pull. Okay, this doesn't have to be a decorative stitch. You could always add decorative stitching later after you're done your pillow. Sometimes that looks kind of cool. Up, pull, down, pull. I'm going to finish 3 of my edges. So this is my first edge. I'm going to have 2 more that I have to sew. So these are really big stitches. You don't want to sew yours to be quite this big. Once I get to one of my binder clips too, I'm going to take it off. So before I start getting that binder clip, I'm going to take this sewing off. Okay, and once in a while, like, check your work. Like, I want to make sure my burlap's nice and lined up. I'm not too close to the edge on either side. Just kind of flip it now and then, because sometimes your fabric might move a little bit. I'm going to take my binder clip off now before I keep sewing. Oh, I'm getting a little close to the edge there, so I'm going to make sure. I'm going to turn it over. Yeah, I'm just going to make sure I'm not going right next to that edge. This is going to be my last side before I turn my pillow inside out and stuff it. And this demo is just really on doing a rectangular pillow. Once you've done a rectangular pillow, you could do shape pillows too. About to come across my burlap clip, so I'm going to take that out. There we go. Like 3 more stitches. I'm not going to go right to the edge, this will be my last stitch. Alright. Right here, before I do anything else, I like to knot it so it's not going to move at all. I'm going to loop under a stitch, so I have a nice loop. Put it through my loop and pull. Now, you don't necessarily need to cut this off. I'm actually just going to leave this hanging. Okay, I might trim my other stitch so it doesn't get in the way when I stuff it. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to turn this inside out. So you don't always have to do this, but since I have design and I want it on the front, I think this gives you kind of a nice edge. The only thing is you will see your yarn color on one side if you do this type of pillow. And I'm going to kind of push all those edges. So you can see a little bit of my stitching. I did really big stitches. You'd want to do really small ones. That would take you a lot longer to make this pillow. I'm kind of pushing my fingers in the corners. There we go, to make sure, kind of getting all that fabric kind of nice and pulled out. It's the same way you can make a stuffed animal. There we go. All right, so you can see I could do a couple things with this right now. I could actually sew this into a little pouch. I could take my long piece of yarn and I could just make a knot on this other side. And then I would have like a little bag. Okay, I'm going to make a pillow instead though, but I just wanted you to see that there's a couple other ways you can do it. There we go, let's go back. Alright, so to make it a pillow, I'm going to take one handful, no more than a handful. These are going to be nice limp pillows just because stuffing is rather expensive and we don't want to waste it. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit in at a time and I'm going to push that stuffing down. Not pushing it really hard, we're going to make kind of floppy pillows to save on stuffing. Actually, that's probably enough. I probably don't even need any more stuffing, so I'll put the rest back. So now that my pillow is kind of stuffed, to give yourself a nice clean edge on your pillow, I'm going to fold and fold, kind of tucking in all those little fibers. I'm letting my little string hang out, but I'm trying to tuck it in so it's nice and neat. If you need to, you could put a binder clip here to help you. Sometimes I'll do that when I'm sewing. Most, like older sewers, will use pins to help keep things in line, but we could use binder clips. Okay, so if you need to, I could keep that there. And then I could start sewing again. This time I make sure I'm getting through all those layers of fabric. And since these stitches are going to show, I'm going to do nice, even stitching. Kind of keeping them nice and tiny. Sometimes these layers take a little bit to push through with that needle, so I'm really kind of pinching those ends. Once I get to my binder clip, I'll take it off. I'm going to sew until I get to that very end part. There we go. And right here I'm going to make my knot. So I'll loop it under and pull. I'm going to do that twice just to make sure it doesn't fall apart. Especially with sewing, sometimes you want to make two knots. And I'll pull it, and there's my pillow. So it's completely done. If I want, sometimes what I'll do is I'll continue a decorative edge along the sides. So what I probably would like to do is maybe do some other pink edging right along here since I see it up at the top.